What are some of my favorite resources for learning pronunciation? Is it possible for me to study pronunciation on my own? Let's answer both these questions. Hey guys, this is Jeff with Fluent American again, and we're focusing on resources for language learners, especially regarding pronunciation. These are going to be starting off some sites that I personally use with students, and that if I were learning English, these are also sites I would try to use on my own, because you don't necessarily need a teacher with these to get great results. So let's take a look at our first resource, Euglish. Euglish. If it looks similar to YouTube, there's going to be a reason for that. Euglish is a site that pulls from YouTube videos. What it does is it scours the videos looking for words that you type in and then tries to match them so that way you can hear the pronunciation. So for instance, let's take a look here. So notice that on Euglish, the first thing it's going to ask me for is it's going to ask me for the language I'm using. So for instance, the US, the UK, or Australian English, all those different variations. So if you're also studying British English or Australian English, this can work well. You type in your word, and then it's going to pull up lots of videos that it can find that contain that word. So this is a great way for hearing not only how many different speakers pronounce the word that you're interested in, but also giving you lots of different contexts. So for instance, look at all these different example sentences that I can see for the different words I'm searching for. Euglish is great for just the amount of information it gives you, lots of different variations on pronunciation, lots of different example sentences, also lots of different videos that, hey, maybe you'll want to watch the full videos for. Our next resource is pretty much any sort of site that gives you audio and a transcript. This is going to be helpful for shadowing type exercises, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But if you're curious about shadowing, be sure to check out our shadowing series. We're going to take a quick look at about 4 or 5 different sites right now, just to give you an idea of what they look like and what you can do with them. So our first one here is ESL Lab. Now this is more of a listening quiz site. They also have lots of training activities as well, but I think this is great material for shadowing exercises because again, it gives you a transcript for dialogues that are pretty conversational and also relatively realistic. And then it also gives you the audio for them too. So you can record yourself and compare how you sound to the original speakers. And that's a similar type of exercise that we're going to suggest for these other videos. One other thing I like about ESL Lab though is the time. Most of these recordings are going to be relatively short, so that way you're not listening to, a half hour of content like a full TV show. No, this is much more manageable, and it's already separated into sections or chunks for you. So you don't need to do that yourself. It's a lot easier to replay the material if it's only a minute or 2 minutes long. A similar site to that has shorter material would be Scientific American 60-Second Science. Now, if you're not interested in science, feel free to find other resources. But one of the advantages of this one is that each of the episodes is pretty short. Again, 60 seconds is the goal, although you'll find a lot of the recordings are actually about a minute, 2 minutes, or even 3 minutes. Still, there's a transcript, which is especially helpful because this is talking about scientific related topics. So this can be a little bit more difficult in terms of the vocabulary and grammar. If you're looking for some longer form podcasts, here are a couple of just quick ones to check out. TED is pretty famous. TED gives presentations on a wide range of topics, and it seems like every day the number of videos is growing. So it's definitely a great one to check out. You can probably find something that's more related to your own individual interests on TED, just because they have such a wide range of material. Other possible sites could be the Nutrition Diva. I especially recommend this for my female students because I think she speaks with a very clear pronunciation. She accentuates words great. I usually suggest students try to find 1 or 2 speakers who they really want to model and copy, and I think she's a great person to choose, especially for my female students. But if you're not interested in nutrition, maybe you can find another topic as well. She's part of a group called Quick and Dirty Tips, so there's lots of other topics that are structured the same way, where they have an episode, have a transcript that goes with that episode. Each one lasts anywhere from 5 minutes, 6 minutes to like 13, 20 minutes even for some of them. Lastly, if you're looking for some more podcasts, a couple other sites to check out. NPR National Public Radio in the US, kind of similar to the BBC. They have a huge range of podcasts to check out on a variety of topics as well. You can see that here. Another site that my students have recommended before that I have not personally explored is Freakonomics, talking more about business-related topics. That may be more interesting for you as well. How about if I want to study through music? Lyrics Training may be a site that you want to explore. It basically takes songs, not just from English, but other languages as well. So if you're a polyglot or want to be one in the future, you can also use this for other languages too. It plays a song and then takes out words, which you then need to put back into the song. So you're getting some typing practice, you're also getting some listening practice, and if you really like the song, maybe you can get some singing/speaking practice in too. You also want to make sure you're pronouncing individual words correctly, so a good dictionary is always going to be helpful. I personally use Word Reference and Wiktionary the most. Word Reference is great because, it's just an awesome resource. They have definitions, as many definitions as you want for words. You can see here, for instance, like the word get, it has, look how many definitions does it have? Too many to count. Another resource that it has too that I really love using is the forum down at the bottom. So if you're looking up a word and you're still not quite getting the nuance or the definition you're looking for, maybe other people have asked a question that can satisfy your needs. So if you look down at the bottom, you can see questions that other people have asked, and then you can click them and kind of see what the community is saying about those words. But the reason I bring this up for a pronunciation resource is because at the top, you can see that they have an audio component, and they also have the transcription in the IPA, the phonetic alphabet. Now, if you're not familiar with the phonetic alphabet, that is okay. It's not necessary to memorize the phonetic alphabet, but it can be helpful. If you're learning a sound like the short I and the long I, and you have some trouble with that short I, that I sound, like you're trying to say sit and seat, and you keep saying seat and seat. Well, it's good to know that for the transcription, for the short I, you're looking for that capital letter I. Like, oh, if I see that, that means I need to use that short I sound, so I need to make it more like in sit, sit. So you can see at the top of this, for wordreference.com, they actually have the transcription in the IPA. Not all dictionaries use the IPA. A lot of other dictionaries, they make their own systems. It can be a little bit weird. So that's why I like using Word Reference, because it's a lot more standard. If you're looking for pronunciation coaches or language partners, this is definitely a great resource to check out, italki.com. On italki, you can schedule classes with coaches and teachers and trainers, everyone from native speakers to non-native speakers to people who just casually want to teach. Maybe a native speaker who isn't certified but just wants to help out speakers on the side, make maybe a little bit of money. If a language partner is something that you're interested in, some other applications that may be good for you would be HelloTalk or Tandem. Now, I haven't personally used Tandem, but in the past I used HelloTalk with pretty good results. Although I think if you're a native English speaker, it's probably a little bit easier to find other people to communicate with, just because English is right now a language that's in demand. One of the last resources, of course, is going to be a recorder. Now, you probably have access to a recorder if you have a phone or a computer, and you're probably using one of those to watch this. But in case for some reason, your microphone's not working or any reason like that, you can also use this website here, which is a free recorder for a microphone. And what that does is it then saves it as an MP3 file afterwards. And again, no charge, it's completely free. And this is really important because if you're trying to improve pronunciation, you need a recorder. It's probably your #1 most important resource. Now, I mentioned at the beginning of the video we'd be talking about whether it's possible to really improve your pronunciation on your own, and I personally do believe it is possible, although you want a teacher to provide you some guidance. So how do you do it? One technique that I strongly suggest is taking information from some of those resources that we mentioned earlier, podcasts or short audio listening. So for instance, we mentioned ESL Lab, there's StoryCorps, even your TED Talks, or even a movie or a video, anything like that, even if it's longer, what you can do is you can break it into smaller sections. So since if you have a TV show with an actor that you really like and you want to sound pretty much like him, or you want to use that actor as your model or that actress as your model, what you can do is instead of watching a full episode or watching a full movie, break it into smaller parts. Ideally, if you have a screen recorder or something like that, what you can do is just record a small 2-minute section, 3 minutes at the most. 2 minutes really though is great, that's plenty of material. So again, a resource that's about 2 minutes long. What you're going to do is you're going to play it and then record yourself trying to say the same thing. This is where the transcript is really helpful because sometimes the audio might be a little bit hard to understand. So if you have the transcript, what you can do is at least you can read, and that makes it a little bit easier. When you're copying or when you're imitating what you're hearing, you want to try to copy the same pronunciation, you want to try to copy the same stress, and you also want to try to copy the same intonation. Those are the three main things. And if those things are difficult, definitely check out our other videos that talk about intonation, pronunciation, and stress. This is all related to shadowing exercises. If you're not familiar with shadowing, again, it's pretty much trying to repeat what you hear as soon as you hear it, ideally, not waiting too long. So if you hear a sentence, immediately trying to repeat what you heard. Now, shadowing practice exercises can be hard to find online because what happens is, most audio resources aren't really made for shadowing. They just keep talking. So if you want some pre-made shadowing exercises for you, definitely take a look at our shadowing exercises here. What we've done is we've created audio that has pauses naturally, so that way you can hear something and then repeat it without constantly pressing pause and play and pause and play, because that gets old after a while. So out of all those resources that I mentioned, which ones do you think are most helpful for you? What are some other resources that you use for your own pronunciation improvement? Let me know in the comments.